The playthrough of all the Danganronpa games has made one thing stick with me more than anything else, and that's the executions. We've seen these trials where the characters have all argued, and eventually the one who's responsible has been dragged away. They've been savage, they've been brutal, they've been funny, they've been sad. They've made us feel a whole depth of different emotions. All those pent-up aggressions when we finally been able to stare them in the eye, because they are the ones who are responsible for taking away from us those characters that we built a relationship with. Be it those that we found in our shower, or be it those that were killed in front of our eyes. Ultimately, we were here to catch that button and see them taken away to a brutal punishment. So with that out of the way, this is my top 10 list of the greatest executions in Danganronpa. Number 10. This first one might seem a bit of a cheat, considering it's technically not an execution and more a killing off for breaking the rules. But I love this because of the way it links directly into Yuta's actual talent as basically the second Ultimate Swim Pro behind his sister Aoi. And I love how much Kamaru gets G'd up to see him getting out there. But then you see the boat, it's clear, and then in a throwback to Battle Royale, the classic Japanese movies, off goes the bomb, and that's it. He is no more. And I especially love how it cuts back to the pier, and you see this despair on Kamaru, knowing the journey is going to be a lot tougher than she wants it to be. Brilliant. Number 9. For such a simple execution, this is one of the most used. The main story arc, of course, has the adopting the route of Makoto and choosing to let the lie go in order to set up the scene that's playing out now. If you choose to pursue the lie, it's Kyoko in your place. Now what I love about this particular execution is the way it builds up. You have that darkness at the start and the tribal drums, then you've got that constant foreboding sound of the press in the background, every so often, boom, boom, boom. I absolutely love that. And of course, you've then got Monokuma stood in front of the blackboard, and on the first part of it, he's talking about the execution and how it's going to go off. So Makoto stays rooted to his chair, and I've always wondered why. Why don't you just run away? You're not roped up, you're not chained up, but there's no way out apparently. And of course, Monokuma decides to turn it into a sex ed class purely because he can. Getting back to the point about why they don't move, I've heard a theory that that might actually have to do with Japanese students under pressure to never leave their seat unless directed. I don't know if that's true though, but I just love the way Makoto and both Kyoko as well start absolutely crapping it at this point and realise they're going to get it. But Alter Ego intervenes, and therefore Makoto's one of the few who gets put into an execution and survives. I love the way that he's just shut down the garbage chute. Now, as Kyoko, we get a fade out, which also robs us of what happened. Fortunately, take it away, Enoshima-sama. She decides she's going to go all in on the joke and show us exactly what happens. And it's as gruesome as you'd expect. Awesome. Number 8. As an execution, this is personal, because this guy killed my bae, Yanaga Anji, and I was like, I'm going to enjoy this. The title, Culturing Melting Pot, is a great reference for the ultimate anthropologist, and at first, it comes across as some kind of weird BDSM video. And he spins and spins around, and you think, what's going on? Until he's cut down and sent flailing into the pits, into a huge pot, and I love the tribal dancing, the shadows. Then we got Monotaro and Monothe, who decide they're going to bank up the fire as much as possible, turning up the heat, and you can see it slowly starts to make blood come out of his eyes. He starts to scream and suffer, and even though Monodam decides to enter the conflagration for whatever reason, I just love that sight of the torturers going around like, yeah, serves you right for what you did to Anji, and to Tenko as well, even though I didn't like her. But then, his ghost appears, and I'm thinking, no, he's not getting what he wants. He starts smiling, and then his sister appears, I'm like, oh no, you don't. No way, you're not getting rewarded. And Monokuma agrees, comes out of nowhere and starts throwing the salt all over him to exorcise his ghost, much like someone would protect themselves as salt when going to a haunted site. Fantastic, Monokuma, you're a legend. Fuck you, Karakio. Number 7. While initially one of the more strange and silly executions of the game, it starts actually very seriously indeed, with this brilliant panning shot of the courtroom of everyone who survives, and the chain dragging Teru back to say, you're not getting anywhere now, your punishment begins. And the moment you see deep-fried Teru, it's clear that we're going to have some kind of culinary-related execution, right? Well, no. Monokuma decides he's going to bring an Apache gunship to the battle, complete with Mukuro-style flak jacket, and just bombs the crap out of him. You're like, well, it feels disappointing, but yet there he is, only he's covered in eggs. What's going on here? Now we've got a huge nuclear warhead that kind of obliterates cities and towns. There's definitely no way back from this. It's got to be done. But no, his goose is not cooked. Instead, it's covered in flour, and now Monokuma picks him up, and you're like, well, where are we going with this? What's going to happen? Until you see the volcano and then the title hits you, Deep Fried Teru. He's being turned into a tempura. And while a delicious, wonderful slice of Japanese cuisine, it's very common. You can find it anywhere and not the ultimate cuisine. So the ultimate execution for the ultimate cook. Brilliance. Number 6. This might share a lot of similarities to entry number 8, but for me, this is the more complete execution. Celestia with her European vampire, kind of Elizabeth Bathory kind of fantasy. This is everything she'd ever want. If she was going to be tried and convicted for a crime, she would want to be put on display. She'd want the crowd gathering close to watch her go up in a conflagration as she burns to ashes and leaves a mark on the world. Right now, she is in the top 1%. She has chosen the exact way to go. She's embracing this with pride and glory as the flames get higher and more resonant and the piano music gets even more resplendent. Everything about her screams giddiness, her hands clasped together with excitement, and right now that scene there with the floral flames, this is perfection for her. So Monokuma decides he's going to ruin it. He calls on the fire brigade. He runs at her. Ramp appears, and in her last seconds, she gets the despair of her ultimate paradise way to check out being robbed as she joins the 99% in one of the most common ways to go. What a fitting punishment for this presumptuous Elizabethan Gothic vampire. Fully deserved. Number 5. One of the cruelest and most savage executions falls to Tojo Kurumi, the ultimate maid. Having revealed a rather shocking revelation about who she really is, she tries to run away from Monokuma to save the nation, to save her people. But the crowd pen her in, and she has no option but to climb up the strand of agony. This thorny wire of hope which makes her bleed every time she climbs. This is savage enough. Then come the saw blades, and you're just like, Christ, no. And I just love how she grins at it and goes, come on, and starts to climb for it as if any task is with her. So she's got that belief in her ability as the ultimate maid to do any task she's asked of. In this case, climb the strand of agony. And despite all the saw blades, despite every shred of her skin and her clothes being torn off, she starts to reach the summit, and then there's this wonderful golden light. Oh my god, she's there! She's gonna make it! And then Monokuma switches off the light, and the strand breaks, much like a Japanese folklore story involving Buddha. And then, in a moment of pure nasty, there's nothing to stop her. She's falling down, straight back to the centre of the web. unbelievably cruel. Thank you very much, Kadaka. Number 4. Possibly one of the most surprising and shocking executions is that of Pepperyama Paco, the ultimate swordswoman. In an almost 70s martial arts movie throwback, she's on her own against an army of samurai Monokumas. Except Monokuma's in charge of the straw doll. She's a puppet on a string. And even so, I just love how you get to see her go full tilt and really shows off her skills, really makes her be the ultimate swordswoman. And you're right now, you're rooting for her. You think, come on, Peppo, you can get through this, you can survive. We haven't before, but then Fuyuhiko runs in, and this is where Monokuma really turns things around because he sees the opportunity, creates an enemy, drags her in. At just this moment, these two stare at each other. Fuyuhiko's shocked, the absolute despair on Pecco's face as she realises the one gift, the one thing she had to do, protect Master, she couldn't do it. And then Monokuma, most people thought they both died together. Absolutely class, sensational. Number 3. Not quite coming closer to the top of the high scoreboard is the gamer girl herself, Chiaki Nanami and Monami, with their incredible reference-filled execution. We start with the girls obviously becoming the aliens in the classic shooter Space Invaders, and look at Monokuma astride his tank, ready to be the protagonist of the story to save us from the alien invasion. Please insert coin, chunk, and here we go. I love the fusion here, not only because of the art style where we've got the retro overlay, the really old school music, and then we cut right back to this really rather dark looking shot of the shell slamming into both Monami and Chiaki. But then she's not enough, she's running for it, and we immediately jump games as now Pac-Man has entered the chat. Gobble, 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 gobble. And they flee desperately. We've made it, we're getting out of here, and then bang, the fourth wall fights back, cuts them right back in their place, and all of a sudden, all the shots come down, there's absolutely nowhere to go, and Monokuma drops the blocks as we go old school again. Cue the music, we're playing a much more extreme version of Tetris. This is perfect because it sums up her talent. She's completely the gamer, it's all the classics, all the old games, and for once, despite being the ultimate gamer, she has no way out. No save states, no continues, no extra lives. And then there's one final little thing, he gives her the full Tetris blocks and blows her away. Absolutely superb. Wonderful execution. Number 2. The Flower Tour for Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Kaede Akamatsu's execution, where we go through the biggest change in history of the series. Our protagonist is outed as the Blackened, and this is absolutely one of my favourites. We see that amazing shot of her being lifted up by the neck, and then here you see her dropped right onto the piano. And the sheer scale of this as it opens up is amazing. But what really sets us apart is Danganronpa V3, they really amped up the savagery with this. So we get the army of Monokumas ready for the show of a lifetime, and then all of a sudden, there they are with the ropes in hand, much like people at a church tolling the bells, and then we see her forced to play a song, the easiest song in the history of piano, and she's playing it wrong. The keys are completely out of sequence, and she's being given relief every time she's dropped, then hung again, dropped, hung, dropped, hung. This torturous savagery and the dizzying, despair-inducing visuals, the crazy vocal, and then the wrestlers' audience, they start to stone her, it gets mental. But as savage as this is, it's only a silver medal, even with the moment that we see the lid close and smash her to pieces along with Monokid. And the reason it's the silver medal, the reason it's only here, is because there's one which went even further, and that is number 1. Here we are, the very first execution from Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc of Leon Kawata, the ultimate baseball star. What really sets up is the gritty tone. You see the grey hues, it looks really brutal. He's dragged by the neck, and you see him kicking and screaming as he's doing everything he can to resist Monokuma, resist this punishment, but he's nowhere to go. He's dragged into the cage, he's chained to it, and then you see the gun looking much like an old-fashioned World War II machine gun, and the crowd stood at the gate. They're forced to watch on. They have no choice as Monokuma steps onto the plate, and the first shot, it doesn't seem so bad. Then the second, and then all of a sudden, wham! He is literally stoned brutally by this absolute savage Gatling gun of a baseball training machine. You can see every crunch as he's kicking this with the flashing lights. And then this moment, he's screaming, and all the balls come towards his head. And at that point, he's brutally beaten. He's smashed to pieces. And then, just to look at the crowd, they all can't believe the horror. This is when they realise what happens if they give in to temptation and commit murder. Pure gold. You cannot defeat your debut. And well, there we are. That's the top 10 executions according to me, Swishbone. And I get the feeling that some of my choices might cause a bit of controversy. Some people might be surprised I've gone with the choice I have. Other people may realise there's some in there that they'd have missed out. Tell me what your favourites are down in the comments, and while you're there, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. There are a lot of unused executions for Danganronpa as well, which I highly recommend checking out. Weebly News did a brilliant video for all 3 games of those, and there's also plenty of forum art out there as well. I will say, of all the unused executions, the one I'd love to see somehow made true is the one for Sayaka Mizuno. If you haven't read that up, go and check it out. It's absolutely brilliant. But what I will say is these games have been amazing in terms of their themes and in terms of the way the characters' talents are embraced. We've seen the quirky and the weird, of course, but ultimately, Monokuma, he's always out there to make you get a massive F you when you think you're going to get things your own way, you think you're going to get away with it. He's there with the in order to put you back in your place. And I say, all I want to know is, are we ever going to see a 4th Danganronpa, a true 4th one? Or are we going to leave this series behind where it belongs? Ultimately, I'm always up for more Danganronpa. I'm a huge fan, and there's more videos coming up soon. I'm going to be doing a bit more of a guide for the sub-games in V3's casinos, a few strategies for those of you trying to get the trophies for that. I'm also hoping at some point to redo a stream of Death Road of Despair that you're watching now, because I want to test if doing it in the actual narrative instead of free time changes the story. But until then, thank you all very, very much for watching, and goodbye.